Hi, this is Naomi Bennett, and we're going to be talking about a general overview of the coming year of 2012. And no, the world is not going to come to an end on December the 21st, 2011. It is the end of the Mayan calendar. But if you'll remember that when the Spanish came in and conquered the Mayans, that they destroyed almost all of their libraries and written records. And so we have a very incomplete picture of the depths of their astrology and their predictions. It's a lot of filled in information that had to be rediscovered and not very completely. So I think that it may be the end of their fifth sun, but it is certainly not the end of the world. However, that does not mean that this is going to be an easy year at all. It's going to be one of our more difficult years, and I would think from prior records that just like in the 1929 crash, the depths of that crash didn't happen until 1933. And I think we're going to have another big down with this year in 2012 after the first panic of 2008. So I don't think it's going to be a very good year for anyone. But let's go into an overview of this, which is with Pluto in Capricorn, and this is a long-term aspect. It means the purging of debt. We had a huge buildup of debt prior to this, and now this is the wiping out of the debt, and it takes years to do that. Now we've already had the Arab Spring in the beginning of 2011, and we've had the Occupy Wall Street. We can expect more of that. It's just going to build up, particularly this summer. We should see global protests all over the world. And if you'll remember, in the last Russian election, Putin is being disputed as the winner, and the Russian people are in protest with their elected officials. I think we're going to find that all over the world, and it's not going to stop. It's going to get worse during this summer, and we will have some panic periods. I think we're still going to see that we haven't cured the euro problems. We've just shoved that down the road a little bit, and we will have a panic during the midsummer where the euro and the crisis of the euro will come to a head, and it will threaten our stock market too. So I'm highly advising everyone to get out of their positions in the market and be more liquid or in a defensive position by mid-May, because the summer is going to be difficult. We'll go over that chart in a minute. We're just trying to give an overall view of what's going to happen. I won't make any predictions on Obama and the election until October, because a lot is going to happen this year through the summer. So it's very hard to be able to make those predictions now. We're much better off waiting until the third and fourth quarter, and then we'll predict for the election then after we see what unfolds. But I do think we're going to wind up, the U.S. and Obama will have to have some military action, and I would say that would be as early as March that we're going to see that. Already we're having a bit of a panic at the end of December with Iran making threats of closing off the Strait of Hormuz. And if they really did do that, you know that NATO and the U.S. would be in there, because that will choke off the oil supplies to Europe and to the rest of the world, and we're not going to tolerate that. It's one of the reasons we got into Iran and Iraq, was because of oil, despite what President Bush, George H. Bush said, and Dick Cheney. They were both basically oil men, and it was one of their major motivations. And I think we're seeing a lot of activity with Bernanke and the Federal Reserve in midsummer too. But let's go on to the chart and look at the chart, and then I'll explain some of my reasons why I'm saying these things. This is the chart for 2012, and let's do some general explanations of how I've marked it up. You'll see at the very top that it's year 2012 from January to December, and you'll notice that we have a long red horizontal line, and it says it's the worst period because it's going to be the very most difficult period of the year, and that takes us all the way from May until October, so through the end of September. Then we have two vertical lines that are the moon wobbles, that sun square, the lunar nodes, and they're short periods of time. So I've marked them with the red vertical lines, and you see moon wobble next to them. And then note up near the top that I have a transparent yellow bar, and that is to emphasize the aspect of Pluto square Uranus that is this worst period of time from May until September. That's when we have the most of the monetary difficulty, we have the most popular uprising, and we have a panic period. And that panic period actually is going to start, if you look toward the bottom, I mentioned earlier that we thought we were going to have military action. So if you'll see the bar on the lower left-hand side, Mars square Neptune, that impacts the US's chart and Obama's chart. And so I'm suspecting that some of the actions of what we're seeing in Iran right now and their threat of blocking the Strait of Hormuz could come to a head, or it's also during this time that we're likely to see Syria and Assad coming to a climax also. Does this mean U.S. military intervention? I'm thinking probably yes, or at least the threat of it. Very likely to happen during that time period. And that goes from, I want to say, through March through May is the most likely period of time for that. And then we have the beginning of the eclipse period right after that. And I think that when you see that part that says Venus OOB, that's Venus out of bounds, that's when we're going to be having a discussion about whether or not Europe is going to get rid of the euro and go back to other currencies, which means that we are probably with the first bottom circle down there that you see in the end of May will be one of our crisis periods that's going to start this unraveling of debt, of Europe, of Iran, and that's going to really kick off this period of instability, of which will continue on through the summer, because if you'll look up to the very top of the chart, you'll see three circles, red circles at the top next to the Pluto square Uranus yellow bar, and those are crisis periods that bring us up to a total impact. So this is where we're going to have periods of crisis where everything's going to come up to a head, specifically in mid-July, and then possibly also, I would say, toward the end of September will be another period of time. So it's just going to be one thing after another. It's going to be very uneasy. I highly recommend that if you're in the stock market that you get out by mid-May and wait for most of this unrest to unfurl, because it's just going to be one crisis after another until we get toward October, when things should calm down by then. So we will be seeing lots of news during this time. Try and be safe. I will emphasize the first quarter of 2012 on the next video to come.